So this is very important to understand the complete implementation flow and application behavior after the deployment. Hey Kodos, what's up? Hope you are doing great. This time I came with another interesting video on interview experience of a senior full stack developer .NET at Virtusa. With 5+ years of experience, they are offering around 22 LPA. This interview was done on 30th July 2026, and the interview difficulty was 4 out of 5. I can say medium to hard. So here comes the main focus areas that we need to consider before attending a .NET full stack developer interview. So the main concepts includes C#, .NET Core, Azure, SQL, design patterns, real project scenarios, and system design. I have also attached the Notion sheet in the comment section. You can consider checking the Notion sheet for question and answers that they have asked. I have also added the coding concepts at the end of the video. So do watch the video till the end. Before getting started, do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Let's go. They quickly started with Azure Security, the most used cloud platform for .NET full stack developers are Azure. So they have asked about the Azure Key Vault and why do we use it. So we can consider saying Key Vault stores the secrets, certificates, API keys and connection strings securely. And the next question goes like, how do you access secrets from Azure App Service? Here we can answer App Service can be used to manage identity and access Key Vault without storing the credentials. And the next question is, how would you secure secrets in IIS hosted applications? Here IIS hosted applications use the environment variables and the configuration encryption or key vault. And next is how we can manage the identity in Azure. Here managed identity removes the need for username and passwords between Azure services. Here comes the most important part, which is OOPS concepts. As we need to understand the objects and classes perfectly, so we can answer these concepts efficiently. Here they have asked mostly on how do you prevent other classes from modifying the fields. So here we can answer, we can use the private fields and the private setters. So they have also asked about the encapsulation concepts. So we need to explain this with examples and the use cases of the encapsulation concept. It protects the object state and business rules. And what is the difference between properties and fields? We need to explain clearly with the example of class, where we are defining the properties and fields inside the class. And the next question is, when would you create immutable objects? So we can use the record types for immutable objects. And the field property protection, we can use private fields, random fields, immutable objects and init only properties. So these record types safeguard the data integrity in .NET applications. So they have considered a few concepts on Const, Readonly and Init. So here they have asked what is the difference between Const and Readonly. Like Const is used for compile time constant and Readonly is for runtime constant assigned in constructor. And the next is when to use init properties. So init properties can be assigned only during object creation. Which one is evaluated at compile time? As we have already mentioned, const can be evaluated at compile time constant. Which one is supports runtime assignment? And coming to the modern C# features are, what is init properties? And init properties can make objects immutable after creation. What is primary constructors? Why we are using the primary constructors? And how do primary constructors reduce the boilerplate code? So we can explain the primary constructors clearly and when they were introduced, as they were introduced in C#12 and they were used to reduce the constructor code commonly used in DTOs, services, and configuration classes. We have also considered asking about .NET Core and APIs. What makes a .NET Core lightweight? And how does middleware work in .NET Core? You can explain the concept of .NET Core is modular and cross-platform, and middleware executes requests in pipeline. And how does a dependency injection work? It is built into ASP.NET Core. And what is the difference between MVC and Web API? So MVC returns views and API returns JSON. So this is very common question, as we have seen in so many .NET full stack developer interviews. They have considered asking about a HTTP context. So HTTP context contains a request and user information. How do you implement JWT authentication? Is a stateless authentication, as we know. So init properties and primary constructors. We can use init only properties for immutable models and primary constructor for concise dependency injection in .NET. So here comes the SQL and performance and design patterns. Coming to SQL, how do you prevent the SQL injection and what are the difference between clustered and non-clustered index? How do you optimize the slow SQL queries? By using the parameterized queries and indexes carefully, we can optimize the SQL slow querying. What is stored procedure and what are the advantages of it? So we can explain the complete concept of stored procedures so that they can improve the maintainability and security of the data. So SQL optimization is common requirement in Virtusa.NET roles. Coming to the design patterns, first and foremost thing we need to explain in CQRS principle and what is a strategy and what is strategy pattern, what is factory pattern and repository pattern. Coming to SQRS, it separates the reads and writes, and the strategy is runtime behavior selection. And remaining two concepts, you can refer to them accordingly in design pattern concepts. I have used allgotutor.io website for referring to the design patterns. Do consider checking the allgotutor. Coming to the final concepts like system design and real projects, they have considered asking about how would you design a scalable web API using the Redis cache, and how would you handle caching, and how would you improve API performance using async programming and load balancer. How would you handle millions of requests by using the data indexing and microservices when needed and Azure App Service scaling. Senior candidates are often asked about architecture and scalability questions. Coming to Azure DevOps and CI/CD pipeline. So this is very important to understand the complete implementation flow and application behavior after the deployment. So we can continuously integrate and continuously develop the application using the CI/CD pipeline, and the pipelines automate build and deployment. What is the difference between Azure App Service and Azure Functions? For monitoring application insights, Azure Monitor and Log Analytics. Azure DevOps and CI/CD are commonly listed skills in Virtusa full stack roles. If you guys like this video, I'll come up with a few more interview experiences. So do consider subscribing to my channel. See you in the next video. Bye.